Before I start thinking about goals for 2026, I want to take a look at what's already working in 2025 and bring some of those habits and routines into the new year for success and continuation of the goodness that's already come from those and work on improving them. So that's what I want to talk about today for day 6 of 12 Days of Vlogmas. And the habits and routines that I'm going to be talking about are things that I have sometimes been better at keeping as consistent routines than others throughout the year. So my goal is just to continue working on these and improve on them as I go. So the first one is a daily walk. This is something that I think ideally I want to be able to do twice a day, but depending on the day, I might take a walk, I might not. I might take 2 or I might take 1 long one. It's kind of all over the place, and I'd like to become more consistent with that. And it's extra challenging this time of year when it's cold and there's a lot of snow. And I live in the country, so where I usually walk is like along the side of a country road, and there's not too much of a shoulder and there's no sidewalk. And so if the snow has been plowed on the sides of the road, there's not really anywhere to walk. So it's a little more challenging figuring out where to go. However, when the property around our house is covered in snow, it can be a good place to just walk around our property, and it's a little more effort than when there's not snow, when you have to trudge through the snow. So it's a good workout, even if I am just walking around our house. I just think it's good exercise, and it's good for mental health as well, just to get outside. And I really appreciate where we live out in the country right now, and I don't know how long we will stay where we are, so I want to really make the most of it while I have it. The second one I wanted to mention is exercise generally, like more purposeful, devoted exercise than just walks. So for me, this has been, I've been pretty good at doing yoga relatively consistently and stretching, sometimes specifically yin yoga, which is a little more like just stretching in a yoga way. This is something that's been really good for how I feel my body. I tend to have a lot of tightness and soreness, and I want to work on flexibility and mobility because I feel like those just aren't that great for me, and so I feel better when I do. And another thing I want to do more of is lifting weights, and this is something I got pretty good at for almost a year when I was going to a gym last year, and then in October I injured myself, and that routine had to go by the wayside, and I didn't re-sign up for the gym because I just needed to take things slow as I was recovering. And now my husband and I have decided to purchase a set of weights and try and work on weight training at home on our own at our own pace. And so that is the goal this year going forward, is to do that more consistently. If anyone out there is watching this and you like to use weights and you have any recommendations for YouTube videos or channels to follow that are helpful, I would really appreciate it. The next one I wanted to talk about is phone use. So over the years, I have gone up and down in habits with phone use, and it has been extra challenging with being a social media manager for work. And as soon as I got laid off from my social media job, I took social media off of my phone. Well, most of it. And some of it has gone off and on depending on habits at the time as I work on controlling my social media and phone use generally. And so one thing that I think has really helped me in the past is when I have gotten into the habit of plugging my phone in out in the hall outside of my bedroom during the evening and overnight, because then I'm not on my phone right before I go to sleep. I am not on my phone when I first wake up, and I think that makes a big difference. I actually made a video about this closer to the beginning of starting this channel, and I can link to it in a card or in the description if you're interested in checking that out. But that's something I want to get back into the habit of doing. I also wanted to talk about gospel study as well as meditation and prayer. So gospel study is something I'd like to be doing more consistently on more of a daily basis. And then meditation and prayer, this is something that I find is really helpful, especially in the mornings for me, just to kind of, I don't know, like center myself and my intentions and think about the day. And what I have really enjoyed doing in the past is just sitting down to do a quiet meditation just to clear my mind and see what things pop into my mind and write them down to get them out of my mind. So that kind of, and then after I do the meditation, I look at my list of the things I've written down and let those guide my choices for what I plan to do for that day and what I want to kind of have on deck on my to-do list for the next day or throughout the week. So those are the habits I wanted to mention and routines that I'm going to be continuing to focus on in the new year. And as always, I'm very interested in hearing what habits and routines have been helpful for you. If you wouldn't mind sharing them in the comments, and maybe we can share down there with each other and find help from each other and support from each other and some inspiration for the future. Hope you're having a great day. See you tomorrow for day 7.